DHA, why it is important and why we need it. Well, DHA is a very complicated story because, of course, in the media and in marketing, people want you to buy their DHA supplements. Well, DHA is easily understood if you understand the story of DHA and how it relates to the development of mankind. Brains are made from DHA and sperm are made from DHA. Without DHA, we would have neither. This is not such a big issue for animals that have small brains, but human beings have enormous brains. So for human beings, DHA is a really big issue. DHA, in the most part, comes from phytoplankton, that is algae. So phytoplankton are little single-celled animals that float around in the water and photosynthesize sugars from the sunlight. That is why if you leave water out, it turns green. So these phytoplankton in the oceans mainly are exposed to sunlight, produce the oil DHA, and that is eaten by other animals and moves its way up the food chain, slowly getting more concentrated as it goes up. So land animals have it too. There are algae and other plants that make it as well, but it's most prevalent in the water where algae exists. Most of the cells that make DHA are single cells. You may have heard that another way of getting your DHA is through alpha-linolenic acid. Well, alpha-linolenic acid is an omega-3 acid. The problem is it cannot be converted to DHA with any kind of efficiency with the human body. So some animals can convert alpha-linolenic acid, and the human body does not have the pathways because in our evolution it was not necessary because we ate a lot of seafood. So if you hear that you can eat walnuts and there's certain oils, flaxseed oils and so forth, that contain alpha-linolenic acid and you think you're getting your DHA, you are very much mistaken. It is also not a stable compound and goes rancid very, very quickly. So any oils with alpha-linolenic acid will quickly rot and go smelly. Therefore, it has been bred out of most oils. So traditionally, rapeseed oil, as canola oil, had the linolenic acid in it. It now does not, as it's been genetically bred out on purpose to increase the lifespan of the oils. Animals fed on a diet of soy or corn have almost no DHA to contribute to your diet. So eating any kind of animal that's been produced in a robotic farming type environment where they are simply stabled and fed buckets of soybeans or corn will not give you any significant DHA. The reason DHA was poorly understood was because until recently we thought that human beings evolved significantly inland and in caves hunting red meat. We now know that that is not the case. New genetic studies since the year 2000 have shown that human beings migrated around the coastline, and we have been living on the coastline for at least 170,000 years, probably much longer, and that we evolved for eating and have lost the pathways for producing DHA because we ate significant amount of seafood, and it was the availability of seafood that led to our larger brains. So DHA is extremely important, and we're not able to get enough DHA from just red meat alone. It is important to eat seafood. So the hunter-gatherer narrative of the savanna-dwelling native is not the narrative you want to follow. You need to understand that human beings were hunting and gathering at the ocean side using canoes, hooks, spears, and they have been for 170,000 years for sure, we absolutely know about, and probably for much, much longer. One of the current problems with the modern supermarket society is we try and get a lot of our DHA from salmon or tuna. The problem with salmon and tuna is they are high-end predators. They are like eating a cat or a dog, and that is simply was not the case in our history where we evolved. We were eating small shellfish and small fish lower down the food chain with less mercury built up in them, and that they were simply coastal fish, not deep water fish. So that is another important point to understand. Another issue is that now salmon is being farmed and fed corn and soy in pens in the ocean. So if you eat farm salmon, it's not going to have any significant amount of DHA at all and actually have a messed up lipid profile, probably worse than your own. Eating salmon will undoubtedly provide you with protein and a delicious meal, but it will not provide you with the DHA unless it is wild-caught salmon. You may be thinking that you want to supplement with DHA using these pills that can be purchased over the counter. The problem with that is that they are usually chocker full of soy oil, is simply a marketing strategy to make you feel like you're doing something significant, that they topped up the size with soy oil. If you check the ingredients, the fine print on the back of the bottle, you will find that the vast majority of the oil in the pill is actually soy oil or some other kind of vegetable oil. Another issue, of course, is that there's no way to know how much DHA is actually in these things because they're not FDA approved. Yet another problem is that digestion works in some symbiosis with bacteria in our gut. Bacteria in our gut needs to be fed correctly. It needs to be fed a complete diet to aid our digestion. Without the bacteria in our gut, we cannot digest anything correctly. So there's a very good chance that if you're taking DHA in a pill just by itself without a correctly balanced diet, then that is just simply contributing to an oily feces rather than to your nutrition. The availability of DHA to our hunter-gatherer ancestors living on the coastline meant that they could develop higher brain functions. These are the higher brain functions that allowed us to spread around the world and create the myriad cultures that we have today. DHA is essential for the development of the growing brain. Children must have DHA every day or they will not reach their full potential. Brains that did not receive an adequate amount of DHA will show lower cognitive intelligence, low systematic thinking, low logic and reasoning, more emotionally driven anger and confusion, poor decision making, and they will easily respond to dopamine surges. If you are not getting DHA every day in adequate quantities, then you are not reaching your full potential. It is essential that you get DHA from small fish from around the coastline. That means things like sardines and shellfish. If you are not getting enough DHA, you will simply have a low sperm count and you will not have the cognitive ability you would otherwise be blessed with.